What am I standing for? Where do I want my life to go? What is the legacy I want to have for myself?
Yeah. Our thoughts are facts. How we feel is just the way it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's even difficult to understand that some people think in a different way. It doesn't have to be like these concrete things, one or the other, and without it, are you even whole as a person? Hi, and welcome to the podcast, The Therapy Floor. I am Dr. Vicky.
I'm Dr. Ritz.
And we're going to get straight into today's dilemma. And so it comes from a woman who's in her early 40s. And she says, I've always been independent. I'm 42, single by choice, not because I have to be, but because I spent too many years in relationships that drained me. Right now, I don't want to compromise my peace just to have someone around. And for the most part, life is good. I've got good friends I see regularly, a job I get fulfillment from, I work as a sales exec, and I stay active playing squash and netball. My days are full and I keep busy. But I've started noticing something lately. When I'm alone, when there's no work, no social plans, no game to focus on, I struggle. The quiet should feel relaxing, but instead it makes me a bit uneasy. Because when it's just me and my thoughts, I don't like where my mind goes. What if I never find someone who truly gets me? Am I actually happy, or am I just distracting myself? What if I wake up one day and regret not settling down? And what am I even working towards? I don't hate being alone, I chose this, but I didn't realise how much I rely on being busy to avoid sitting with myself. And honestly, that realisation freaks me out a little.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts, Ritz?
I'm having a lot of thoughts about this one. I feel like I need a pad to write all my thoughts down.
Okay.
Because they're just different areas, but let's see if we can piece them together. I think sometimes, we can go into overthinking paralysis where it's difficult to trust ourselves. And I'm just wondering if that's what's happening here, because on one hand, you're saying I'm really content, but then when I slow down, I'm questioning, am I actually content? And as if the busyness is a problem. So I'm wondering if your thoughts are telling you have a problem when you don't actually have a problem.
Yeah.
So that was my first thinking around it, because I think that's quite a normal phenomena to happen, where it sounds like what you're going through is you've got a busy, content, quite happy life, and then you slow down and you're questioning yourself. But I'm just wondering if you're questioning it from a place of like authenticity, where you're really not happy and like a bodily sensation is telling you that, or is it an expectation of society?
Yeah, I must look for something to be
wrong.
Yeah.
And that because, you kind of like said at the start, I'm single by choice. It's almost like we have to define why we've made these choices. Like I have to tell them I'm single. This is why I'm single, because, is Vicky and Ritz going to wonder, why is she single at 42?
Yeah.
And so I'm having some thoughts around that, but it's normal to have these thoughts. It's normal to like have potential negative thoughts about yourself or your situations or your experience and doubts. I think that's actually a really good word for it, doubt. But just because we think something doesn't make it true. And I think what you're actually talking about here is maybe what you're struggling with is your thoughts, maybe your relationship to yourself, and because you're maybe in doing mode a lot, are you struggling to be in being mode? Because you don't maybe know how to be in this like more softer, more gentle, more slower pace, is it that there's something wrong then? So you have to fix it.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe it's just a bit of psychoeducation, maybe it's just a bit about getting to know yourself, and I wouldn't say necessarily getting comfortable with these thoughts, but being able to tolerate them. Like noticing them, being curious about them when they come in, asking yourself, do I even need to do anything with it? Or is this just, a part of society now in my, subconscious, questioning my choices? And actually, no, this is my relaxation time. I don't have to give time to that. This is time to just come back to me, to just be with myself.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that kind of came up for me was purpose. I feel like what's at the deeper root of all of this is, are you questioning what's my purpose in life? What am I standing for? Where do I want my life to go? What is the legacy I want to have for myself?
Yeah.
And that's quite a heavy question.
It is. And I think it's one that I see in the therapy room a lot. And actually with people who are quite successful, who have quite full lives. And sometimes they do ask themselves, what is the point of it all?
Yeah.
Like, what is the point of life? What is the point to my existence? I seem to have it all, but yet I still feel a bit empty, or a bit dissatisfied, or I'm just questioning things. And I think it's a really useful place to get to for all of us, actually, to think about what is the point of it all? Like you were saying, purpose. And one thing that I love about existential work is just giving you back the ownership and the authority to define what is meaningful and purposeful for you. Like if you're struggling to find meaning, sometimes you need to just take something and make it meaningful, if that makes sense. And I wonder if you feel like maybe you're on the verge of that. You're on the verge of thinking, gosh, my life is full, I have this, I have that. But there's like a niggling thought in the back of my mind that, is this it? Actually, am I really happy? And maybe it just comes down to what Ritz is saying, just having clarity or tolerating not having clarity on what your purpose is right now. It doesn't mean that it's always going to be this way, but sometimes we have to tolerate the distressing thoughts that we may have, because tolerating them can lead to some breakthrough in the future.
Tolerating them might be the breakthrough.
Yeah.
Like, is the lesson here for you to sit and to be still?
And to be.
Yeah.
I really liked what you were saying about being, because I'm thinking about mindfulness and how mindfulness is just about literally being present and observing and noticing the present. And whilst she's being busy and she's doing, can she incorporate being in the doing? Like if she's out playing netball, can she be present in the moment of like, oh, I'm noticing that this is how I'm feeling. I'm noticing the exhilaration from scoring a goal. I'm noticing the joy that I feel when I'm connecting with my friends. Can she incorporate the being into the doing while she's doing it, which may mean that when she's alone with her thoughts and she's not busy, there's a bit more quiet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like is what you're saying is, I'm getting a whiff of, so when you're doing these things that are keeping you busy, are you thinking about the next thing?
Exactly.
Or what is this going to lead to?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Or are you just kind of being absent? Like, can you bring your thinking into the situation?
Yeah.
Into the action?
It reminds me of children a bit, of, I was thinking of this the other day when I was driving. I was like, I wonder exactly what age it is that children start to like question themselves and question their thoughts. Because when you see a child play, like at quite a young age, and I'm talking about my personal experience of having a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old at the moment, that you see them play and they're quite immersed in their play. You're not really getting that idea that their thoughts are elsewhere, that they're thinking, I've got to do this, or I've got this homework to do, or tomorrow we're gonna pack to go here. They're just literally like fully immersed in that, and that's quite a mindful experience. And I know sometimes that analogy is often made, isn't it, to adults, to immerse yourself and to have this like play-like quality, this present mindful experience of the hobby or the task that you're doing. But I was thinking, I wonder what age it is that starts to get disrupted, where they start to like have these thoughts and maybe feel ruled by their thoughts. Because really what we're encouraging you to do is to question your thoughts. And I guess that's something children never get taught, to question their thoughts or to be curious about their thoughts.
No. I was just trying to think, what age would I have started that? And I can't tell you, actually.
I think I learnt that on the training.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like to question your thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think through the training and through the therapy is when it's almost like this concept exists, but you don't necessarily try it out.
Well, you might not do if no one has told you to,
Yeah.
or no one has shown you how to do that.
What about you?
Well, like when I started questioning my thoughts. Oh. I don't know. I can't tell you, actually. And yeah, but actually I think it probably wasn't in childhood, because I think in childhood we like to, we assume that our thoughts are facts. How we feel is just the way it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's even difficult to understand that some people think in a different way. So yeah, it possibly was in my late teens, early adulthood.
It's back to that concept, just because you think it doesn't make it true.
Yeah. So just because she's thinking that
these
maybe
thoughts mean there's something wrong with me. I feel like that's what she's saying. Because I'm having these thoughts, there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not actually content. Maybe I'm kidding myself.
Yeah.
I think you would know that.
And how would she know that?
Coming back to the body,
Yeah.
I think something would not feel right within you. Physically, you'd get like a discombobulation or a gratingness or just an unease.
Do you know what? I think that's true, actually, because when I reflect on times where I felt like unhappy in different areas of my life, and when I'm alone with my thoughts, I feel that it almost feels overwhelming. It kind of like comes out and really takes over, like this feeling of unease or emptiness or like a hollowness within me. And it's not been something that has actually just lurked in the shadows. It's been very much at the forefront of my mind. And when I'm busy, I know that, oh no, when I'm alone again, it's going to come back.
It's going to come back. Okay. So do you feel like that's where she is? Potentially?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
I think we're wondering, actually, maybe it isn't, because she's questioning herself.
Yeah.
Am I really that happy?
Yeah.
When I think maybe if you were unhappy, you would know.
Yeah, this is it, right? So you were saying you knew because you felt the hollowness. Okay,
Yes.
fine. Sorry, I was missing you there. So
And
that
it felt
bodily,
really overwhelming.
Yeah.
It was always present.
The hollowness was overwhelming, or the thoughts, or both?
I'd say the hollowness followed by the thoughts.
Okay. See, I think that's really interesting there, because that it follows quite a nice cognitive behavioural model or a cognitive behavioural therapy model of, you had a physical sensation, which was the hollowness, which led to the thoughts,
Yeah.
which then led to probably some feelings.
Yeah. And led to the appraisal, I'm unhappy.
Yeah. Then what did you do with that? Were you like paralysed by that?
You know what? I think I'm someone that's always allowed myself to feel what I feel, and allowed myself to feel the whole, like, totality of that experience until it runs its course. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I do hear what you mean. You're saying, I'm not afraid of it.
Yeah.
I'm making space for it.
Yeah.
I'm seeing what it does. Yeah.
exactly.
Which was quite interesting, because I feel like what you said at the end was, what was it? This realization is freaking me out. So is the space that you're making for being alone, or maybe it's not even that you're making the space, right? I wonder if this space is just popping up, these like pockets of alone time. And rather than being like, okay, I'm going to make space for it, I'll see what it does, I'll let it play out. You're on edge. Mm-hmm. You're freaking out. What is this going to tell me?
Yeah.
There's a bit of like an undercurrent of fear.
Yeah. And this just a random thought just popped up for me. I know that maybe in the world of like wellness and psychology and therapy, we like to say that people should be okay. You're not okay if you can't be by yourself and you can't sit with yourself. And I think there is some truth, some elements of truth to that, but I don't think it's the whole truth. Mm-hmm. And I say it's not the whole truth because what if we were all supposed to be just sat by ourselves with our thoughts all the time and be okay? When I think about people who maybe are isolated, not by any choice of their own, or I don't know, maybe they're in hospital, maybe they're in prison, and they're alone with their thoughts. Is that something that we would recommend and say, just sit there, just sit with your thoughts, don't see anybody, be okay with being by yourself completely and thinking without anything to distract you? I think that's a bit unrealistic. Actually, I think it's very unrealistic.
I think that's going to do a lot of damage, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's about just having some balance or some fluidity.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay to be so busy. Sometimes it's okay to be by myself. It doesn't have to be like these concrete things, one or the other, and without it, are you even whole as a person? Mm-hmm. I think that's a bit unfair. So maybe the freaking out, again, comes down to societal expectations of what you should be doing, who you ought to be, how you ought to feel.
Yeah.
And maybe actually stop putting pressure on yourself to be that way.
You don't have to figure yourself out yet. You can play around with all of these ideas. You can, I'd actually maybe, in quite a loose way, become familiar with what your values are. And, you might want to like circle it into a few domains of your connection with others, your relationships, your physical health, your mental health, and your like more existential, more spiritual, more purposeful part of you. And have a look at those, maybe those like 4 areas of your life and the different parts of that, and consider, are my actions aligning with what's important to me right now?
Yeah. I think that's going to be quite key because there are so many shoulds actually in this.
Is there?
Yeah. And where are those shoulds coming from? And actually being in touch with what your values are, like Ritz is saying, will help you really tap into what is meaningful for you, what direction do you want to go in, what should you be paying attention to, and what should you kind of like be letting pass through your mind. Because, she said the quiet should feel relaxing.
Says who?
Says who?
Says maybe Instagram and social media.
Yeah.
But that's why I wanted to normalize it at the start, to say I think people can find it really tough to be on their own. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. Mm-hmm. I would almost say it's a bit of a skill set. It's learning to have a more deeper relationship with yourself. Mm-hmm. When you're able to just sit with yourself. Mm-hmm. And for that to feel like what you're saying is it doesn't feel content at the moment. Like when I'm at work, that's content. When I'm with my friends, that's content. When I'm playing these sports, that's content. Mm-hmm. But when I'm on my own, there's just something that's like, is your life okay? This is wrong.
Yeah. But I think again, it's just another facet of your life. Just like you don't spend all your life playing netball, you don't spend all your life at work, you don't spend all your life sleeping, you don't spend all your life being alone. It's just another facet or another time
Yeah.
block in your life or in your day even. And if you want to feel okay being alone, it's also okay to know that actually I decide when it's enough alone time for me.
I like that.
You know? I'm okay to be by myself, and I know also when I need to be with other people.
Yeah, you put limits on it.
Yeah. Yeah, let's kind of normalize
Not wanting to be alone.
not wanting to be alone.
Yeah. And then the opposite of that doesn't then mean that you need to be in a relationship to not want to be alone.
Yeah. So many questions you have, so many thoughts you're grappling with, but I think what we've got at is like the essence of like purpose, values, meaning, and you deciding what that looks like, but also just really normalizing what you're experiencing and what you're going through and the questions that you're having. You may not figure out the answers to them tomorrow. It may just be a lifelong journey of figuring yourself out.
Definitely. And just because I think, one of the biggest takeaways that I would be sharing with you here is your thoughts are not fact. So, get to become like, and I feel like you are, you've written them down quite eloquently, what these thoughts are. Don't be afraid of those thoughts. Make space for tolerating those thoughts. Because they come up, it doesn't necessarily mean something needs fixing. Might just be as simple as an observation of, yeah, I have these thoughts, but actually they don't really, truly have much meaning for me right now. I think they're more of society's thoughts that are filtered in. And I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
So yeah, just I think forming, and this is why I was saying, I think being alone, learning to be alone can be a skill.
Yeah.
That once you recognise how to use that skill, like how to have a relationship with your thoughts, it just might feel that little bit more tolerable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sending this in. Something, again, which I think is super relatable for a lot of people. And if you've been watching this and you feel like you have a dilemma, please send them in to us. And you can send them into hello@thetherapyfloor.com.
Remember to like and subscribe to all our channels. We're on TikTok, we're on Insta, we're here. It really helps to just grow our platform and reach as many of you as possible.
Yeah. So until next time, I'm Dr. Vicky.
I'm Dr. Ritz.
See you on the floor soon.
Bye.
Bye.